My name is Paula Williams. I'm 28 years old, and I used to believe betrayal had to look dramatic to destroy you. I thought it came with shouting, smashed plates, slammed doors, maybe some ugly confession under the rain like in movies. I didn't know betrayal could happen quietly, in your own bedroom, while your mother was 5 miles away, fighting for one more breath. I worked as a project manager for a commercial construction company. It wasn't glamorous work. My mornings started before sunrise, with subcontractors calling about delays, clients changing their minds after budgets were already approved, and engineers sending emails that sounded polite but meant everything was on fire. I had no college degree, just certifications, experience, and the kind of stubbornness you only get when life teaches you early that nobody is coming to save you. My mother, Linda, raised me alone after my father disappeared when I was 6. She worked at a dental office in the mornings and a call center at night. I still remember her coming home close to midnight, smelling like coffee and exhaustion, but still kneeling beside my bed to ask if I'd finished my homework. She never made me feel poor. She made me feel loved. There's a difference. When I was 15, she married Greg. He was steady, quiet, the kind of man who fixed things before anyone asked. Greg had a daughter from his first marriage, Jenna, who was 13 then. Jenna was bright, restless, always trying to be liked. She wanted attention the way some people want oxygen. We shared a cramped room for 3 years, 2 twin beds, 1 closet, her makeup and clothes everywhere. We weren't best friends, but we weren't enemies. She was my stepsister. I thought that meant something. Years later, I met Ethan. Ethan Miller was charming in the easy way that makes you forget charm can be practiced. He worked in sales for one of our contractor partners, always clean-shirted, always confident, always knowing what to say. Our first date was supposed to be coffee. It turned into dinner, then a long walk downtown, then me sitting in my car at 2 in the morning, smiling like an idiot, because, for once, someone had made me feel chosen. We dated for 2 years. He moved into my townhouse after the first year, and I thought we were building a life. We talked about marriage, maybe kids, maybe buying a bigger place one day. He knew I tracked every dollar. He laughed at my spreadsheets, but kissed my forehead when I stressed over bills. I thought that was love. Maybe it was convenience wearing love's coat. Then Mom got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 3 to 6 months, the doctor said. Maybe less. The appointment is burned into me. Mom sitting in a paper gown, Greg holding her hand, me standing against the wall because there weren't enough chairs. The doctor spoke gently, which somehow made it worse. Mom asked practical questions. Pain management, treatment options, what to expect. She didn't cry until we reached the parking lot. I took family leave from work. I spent every day at the hospital or at her house, managing medication, helping Greg, talking to nurses, pretending I wasn't falling apart. Ethan was supportive at first. He brought coffee. He texted, "I love you." He sat with Mom when I needed air. But after a few weeks, his patience thinned. "You're always there," he said one night when I canceled dinner. "My mother is dying." I know, Paula. I'm not saying don't be there. I'm just saying Greg is there too. The words lodged somewhere deep in my chest, like my presence beside the woman who gave up everything for me was optional. Like grief should be scheduled around romance. Around that time, Jenna started showing up more. She said she wanted to support Greg, support me, support the family. She brought food, chatted with nurses, hugged me a little too tightly. I thanked her. I actually thanked her. What I didn't know was that Jenna and Ethan had started talking. First about me, then about how hard everything was, then coffee, then lunch, then dinners I didn't know about. Looking back, there were signs. Ethan, smiling at his phone and turning the screen away. Jenna asking too many casual questions about whether I'd be staying overnight at the hospital. The way they avoided looking at each other when they were in the same room. But I was watching my mother disappear one breath at a time. I didn't have room in my mind for suspicion. The week everything happened, Mom declined fast. She stopped eating. Her voice became a whisper. Her hands, once warm and strong, felt like paper when I held them. I slept in hospital chairs 4 nights that week, waking whenever the machines beeped or nurses came in. On Tuesday night, Mom's oxygen dropped. Her pain spiked. The doctors weren't sure she'd make it until morning. Greg and I sat on opposite sides of her bed without speaking. There are moments when words become disrespectful because they're too small. At 11 p.m., I texted Ethan, "I'll probably be here all night. Don't wait up." He replied almost instantly, "Okay, hope she's all right. Love you." I stared at the message for a second. Something about it felt too quick, too clean. But then Mom stirred, and I forgot everything else. At around 3 in the morning, she stabilized. The nurse told me to go home, shower, sleep in a real bed. I didn't want to leave, but my body was shaking from exhaustion. I kissed Mom's forehead and promised I'd be back soon. I reached my townhouse at 4:15 a.m. The living room light was on. There was a car parked outside that I recognized too late. Jenna's. At first, my brain tried to protect me. Maybe she came to check on Ethan. Maybe something happened. Maybe there was an emergency. Then I heard a sound upstairs. A man's low voice. Then Jenna's laugh. Not her normal laugh. A breathless one. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, frozen. My hand gripped the railing so hard my fingers hurt. Every step upward felt like walking toward my own execution. My bedroom door was cracked open. Light spilled onto the hallway floor. I pushed it open. Ethan was in my bed. Jenna was with him. For 10 seconds, nobody moved. I noticed everything. His shirt on the floor, her earrings on my nightstand, the bottle of wine I'd been saving for our anniversary opened beside the lamp. Ethan's face went white. "Paula," he said, "I can explain." Jenna scrambled for the sheet. "Oh my God, Paula, please!" I didn't scream. That still surprises me. I just said, "Get out." Ethan stood, pulling on his clothes with shaking hands. "It wasn't planned. It just happened." I looked at him, then at Jenna. My mother was dying, and they had chosen my bed. "Get out," I repeated, "before I become someone I don't recognize." Jenna started crying. Ethan tried to touch my arm. I stepped back so fast, he froze. "Don't," I said. "Don't ever touch me again." They left in a rush, whispering apologies like apologies could clean the room. When the door shut, the house became silent. I stripped the bed. Sheets, pillows, comforter. All of it went into trash bags. I didn't wash anything. Some things aren't meant to be saved. Then I showered until the hot water ran out. By sunrise, I had blocked Ethan, blocked Jenna, and deleted every message without reading them. 2 days later, my mother died with my hand in hers. And I still hadn't cried about Ethan. Not because it didn't hurt, because grief had already filled every room inside me, and betrayal had nowhere left to sit. The funeral passed in a haze of black clothing, wilted flowers, and people telling me my mother was in a better place. I smiled when they expected me to smile. I thanked them when they hugged me. I accepted casseroles I never ate and condolences I barely heard. Inside, I felt hollow. Not because I had stopped loving my mother, but because losing her had taken everything I had left to give. There wasn't enough of me remaining to process what Ethan and Jenna had done. My heart had already been shattered by cancer before betrayal ever reached it. Greg stood beside me through the service. He looked 20 years older than he had only a few months earlier. His shoulders were permanently slumped, as if grief had become physical weight. After everyone left the cemetery, he caught me near my car. "Jenna told me what happened," he said quietly. I stared at the ground. "I'm sorry, Paula." "I know. I didn't raise her to become this person." "No," I answered honestly. "You didn't." He looked like he wanted to say more, but some wounds are too deep for parents to fix. Jenna was his daughter. I wasn't going to ask him to choose between us, and I knew he never truly could. We hugged awkwardly. That was the last genuine conversation we ever had. 3 days after the funeral, someone knocked on my front door. I already knew who it was. When I opened it, Ethan and Jenna stood together on the porch. For one strange second, they looked like frightened children instead of two adults who had deliberately destroyed someone's trust. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot. Jenna's cheeks were stained with tears. "Please," Ethan whispered. "Can we talk?" "No." "Paula," Jenna began. "No." "We owe you an explanation." "You owe me nothing." I started closing the door before Ethan caught it with one hand. "Just 5 minutes." His voice cracked. "I know how this looks," I laughed. "You know how it looks?" He swallowed. "It wasn't supposed to happen." "Really?" "It just..." His eyes dropped. "It just happened." Those 4 words echoed through the doorway. It just happened. Like two adults accidentally fell into bed together. Like secrets accidentally lasted for weeks. Like lies accidentally required text messages, coffee dates, and hidden conversations. I looked at Jenna. She nodded through tears. "We both feel horrible." "You should." "I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did." "I know." "No," I said quietly. "You know now. You didn't know then." Silence. I was sitting beside my dying mother. Neither of them spoke. I was holding her hand while she fought to stay alive. Still nothing. And while I was praying she would survive one more night, I looked from Ethan to Jenna. The two people I trusted most decided my bedroom was the perfect place to betray me. Jenna broke first. "I'm so sorry." "So am I." Ethan took another step. "I still love you." "No." "I do." "No, Ethan. I made one mistake." I shook my head. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is buying the wrong birthday present. A mistake is taking the wrong exit on the highway. You made hundreds of decisions. You answered texts. You hid conversations. You met behind my back. You lied to my face. You walked into my home. You walked into my bedroom. You took your clothes off. You stayed. I paused. None of those were accidents. His face collapsed. "I know." "No," I said again. "You know because you got caught." I stepped backward. "I don't hate either of you." That surprised them. "I don't?" "No. Hate takes energy. I don't have any left. I simply don't want either of you in my life." I closed the door. They knocked for another 6 or 7 minutes. Eventually, the porch became quiet. I never opened it again. 2 weeks later, one of our mutual friends accidentally mentioned that Ethan and Jenna were officially dating. They had posted pictures together, matching captions, heart emojis, comments about finally finding happiness. For a moment, I felt sick. Not because I wanted Ethan back. That part of my life had died before my mother did. No. What hurt was realizing they hadn't destroyed my relationship for one reckless night. They genuinely believed they'd found something worth sacrificing me for. That realization changed everything. Until then, somewhere deep inside me, I'd imagined guilt would eventually bring them back to reality. Instead, they celebrated. So I erased them. I blocked every social media account, deleted every old photograph, removed Ethan from emergency contacts, changed every password, donated the clothes he'd left behind, repainted my bedroom, bought a different mattress, sold the dining table we'd picked together, even rearranged the furniture because every corner reminded me of someone who no longer existed. Friends reacted differently. Some quietly supported me. Others suggested I was being dramatic. They made a mistake. People cheat. Life is complicated. The people who said those things slowly disappeared from my life too. I didn't argue. I simply stopped answering. Instead, I buried myself in work. Construction projects don't care if your heart is broken. Concrete still has to be poured. Budgets still have deadlines. Clients still complain. Within 6 months, I earned a promotion to senior project manager. The raise let me renovate my townhouse completely. Fresh paint, new flooring, different furniture. It finally felt like my home again, instead of a museum dedicated to memories I wanted buried. I also started running. At first, I couldn't finish 2 miles without gasping for breath. Then 5. Then 10. Eventually, I completed my first half marathon. Every mile hurt. Every finish line reminded me that pain eventually becomes distance. Meanwhile, according to the friends I hadn't completely cut off, Ethan and Jenna were inseparable. Every weekend there were photos, vacations, date nights, declarations about soulmates. It almost felt performative, as though they needed everyone, including themselves, to believe the betrayal had been worth it. 8 months into their relationship, the cracks started showing. One friend mentioned Jenna screaming at Ethan during a birthday party because he'd spent too much time talking to another woman. Another said Ethan had become distant. Someone else mentioned Jenna posting cryptic quotes about trust before deleting them. I never asked questions. Their lives no longer belonged in mine. Then, exactly 1 year after I caught them together, my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I ignored calls like that. This time I answered. Hello? There was heavy breathing. Then a familiar voice I hadn't heard in a year. Paula. It was Jenna, and she was crying. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. All I heard was Jenna trying and failing to steady her breathing. Paula, she whispered again. Please don't hang up. What do you want? I need help. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because life sometimes has a cruel sense of symmetry. I know I don't deserve it, she continued, but I don't have anywhere else to go. What happened? Silence, then another sob. Ethan cheated on me. I leaned back in my office chair. With who? My best friend's older sister. The irony was almost unbearable. I caught them together last night. She broke down crying. I don't know what to do. I closed my eyes. For one brief second, I remembered standing in my own bedroom 1 year earlier. My mother's hospital bracelet was still around my wrist. The smell of antiseptic still clung to my clothes. And Ethan had looked me straight in the eyes and said the words that would stay with me forever. It just happened. I opened my eyes again. So, my voice was calm. It just happened? Silence. Another sob. That's what Ethan said. I figured. He said it wasn't planned. I'm sure. He said he feels terrible. I'm sure he does. Paula. She sounded desperate now. I finally understand how much I hurt you. No. You don't. I do. No. You understand what it feels like to be betrayed. You still don't understand what it felt like to lose my mother, while the people I trusted most were betraying me. She started crying harder. I'm sorry. I know. I really am. I know. Please. I just need somewhere to stay. I looked around my townhouse. 3 bedrooms. One sat completely empty. I absolutely could have helped her. Instead, I said quietly, "Sounds like it just happened." Then I ended the call. She tried calling back immediately. Blocked. 10 minutes later, another number appeared. Blocked. Then another. Blocked. By evening, I had blocked 6 different numbers. The next morning, Greg called. I stared at his name for a long moment before answering. "Hi, Greg. Paula." He sounded exhausted. "I know you don't owe Jenna anything." "You're right. He sighed. "She's completely broken." "I believe it. She doesn't have anyone." "She had someone." "What?" "She had me." Silence. "She threw that away." Greg rubbed his face loudly against the phone. "People make mistakes." "Choices." "What?" "She made choices." "So did Ethan." "They're living with those choices." "I was hoping—" "I know." He became quiet. "You've always had a good heart." "I still do." "Then why—" "Because having a good heart doesn't mean volunteering to have it broken twice." Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, he said softly, "I miss Linda." "So do I." That was enough to end the conversation. I never blocked Greg, but neither of us called very often after that. Over the following weeks, news spread without me asking. Ethan had moved out. Apparently, Jenna had discovered months of secret messages, dinner receipts, hotel reservations, photos. History repeating itself almost perfectly. Mutual friends couldn't stop talking about it. It's karma. They deserve each other. What goes around comes around. I didn't celebrate. I simply listened. One Saturday afternoon, I ran into Ethan at a grocery store. He looked thinner. His beard had grown unevenly. The confidence that had once attracted everyone seemed to have disappeared. "Paula." I nodded once. "Ethan." "Can we talk?" "No." "It'll only take a minute." "It won't." He followed me down the cereal aisle anyway. "I know I destroyed everything." "Yes. I've changed." "I hope so." "I finally understand what I put you through." "I'm glad." He frowned. "That's all?" "What else were you expecting?" "I don't know." "Maybe—" He hesitated. "Maybe forgiveness." I placed a box of oatmeal into my cart. "I forgave you a long time ago." His face brightened. "You did?" "Yes." Hope flooded into his eyes. "Then maybe—" "I also left." His smile disappeared. "Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation." "I don't hate you. I simply don't trust you. And trust is the one thing you can never demand back." He swallowed. "I loved you." "No." "I did." "No, Ethan." "If you had loved me—" I looked directly into his eyes. "You would have been sitting beside me in that hospital instead of sleeping with my stepsister." He lowered his head. "I'll regret that forever." "I believe you." "You believe me?" "Yes." "I believe you'll regret it for the rest of your life." I pushed my cart past him. "Paula." I stopped without turning around. "I'm sorry." I nodded once. "I know." Then I walked away. 6 months later, my own life barely resembled the one I'd been living before. I accepted another promotion, bought a larger townhouse across town, adopted a rescue dog named Cooper, whose enthusiasm for life somehow reminded me that joy still existed. Most unexpectedly, I met Daniel. He was a civil engineer assigned to one of my commercial projects. Unlike Ethan, Daniel never tried to impress me. He simply showed up. If he promised to call, he called. If he said he'd be somewhere at 6, he arrived at 5:55. When I talked about my mother, he listened instead of trying to fix my grief. When I admitted I struggled to trust people now, he didn't become defensive. He simply said, "Then I'll earn it one day at a time." That's what love looks like. Not grand speeches, not dramatic apologies. Consistency, peace, safety. Months later, one mutual friend told me Jenna had moved to another state, hoping for a fresh start. Ethan was still living alone. Neither had really rebuilt their lives. I wished them neither happiness nor misery, just distance. Sometimes people ask whether I regret refusing to help Jenna, whether I should have been the bigger person. I always give the same answer. Being the bigger person does not mean becoming someone's emergency exit after they deliberately set your world on fire. My mother taught me that loyalty is measured by actions. She also taught me that self-respect is something nobody can give you once you've surrendered it. So no, I don't regret closing that door. Because the night I found Ethan and Jenna together, they didn't just betray my love. They abandoned me during the darkest week of my entire life. Some bridges can be rebuilt. Others become ashes for a reason. Mine stayed burned, and for the first time in years, I finally understood that peace isn't found by giving everyone another chance. Sometimes peace begins the moment you stop waiting for people to become who they should have been.